Sometimes everything goes exactly as planned.
I know what you're thinking, and you're right. Magnum P.I. wasn't supposed to be a hit. It was a CBS replacement show about a private investigator living in Hawaii, wearing loud shirts and driving someone else's Ferrari. No credibility, no edge. Just Tom Selleck, a mustache, and an island. But behind that Hawaiian paradise and those beach sunsets, nothing was easy. Selleck lost Indiana Jones because CBS wouldn't release him from his contract. The Ferrari belonged to a real person who sued the show for damages. And one cast member's racism created such toxicity that the others refused to film with him for entire seasons. These are 20 secrets about Magnum, P.I. hidden for decades. And trust me, the bonus fact will explain why Tom Selleck still has nightmares about the choice that cost him Harrison Ford's career. Let's take the Ferrari for a spin. Fact 20. Tom Selleck was cast as Indiana Jones. Before Magnum P.I. and CBS refused to release him, which destroyed his film career.
Had tested a lot of Indiana Joneses, from Tim Matheson to Peter Coyote to Tom Selleck.
I didn't turn it down. I earned the part. I did a screen test.
Right.
And Steven Spielberg and George Lucas said, "You got the part." And I said, well.
Here's the decision that haunted Tom Selleck for decades. Steven Spielberg wanted Selleck for Indiana Jones in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Spielberg and George Lucas Screen tested dozens of actors in 1979. Tom Selleck was their choice, not Harrison Ford. Selleck. They offered him the role officially. Selleck was ecstatic. Raiders would be his breakthrough. Then CBS reminded him he'd signed a contract for a pilot called Magnum, P.I. The pilot hadn't been picked up yet, but CBS owned his services. Selleck begged CBS to release him for Raiders. The film would shoot during his option period. CBS refused. They were planning to pick up Magnum and wouldn't let their star leave. Selleck had to turn down Spielberg. Harrison Ford got the call as backup choice. Raiders made Ford one of Hollywood's biggest stars. 3 sequels, iconic status. Tom Selleck got Magnum, P.I., which was successful, but television, not film. Selleck became a TV star while Ford became a movie legend. The choice wasn't even Selleck's. CBS made it for him. Selleck later admitted he thinks about Indiana Jones constantly. What if CBS had released him? His entire career would have been different. Harrison Ford's career might not have existed. CBS's refusal to release Tom Selleck changed Hollywood history. Fact 19. The Ferrari 308 GTS wasn't owned by the show, and the real owner sued for damages after production destroyed multiple cars. That iconic red Ferrari wasn't a prop. It belonged to a real person who later regretted ever getting involved with television. The show needed a Ferrari 308 GTS for Magnum to drive. Budget was tight. Production made a deal with Ferrari collector Bob Dykman, who owned several 308s. He'd loan cars to production for episodes in exchange for exposure and modest rental fees. It seemed like good business. Then production started filming. Stunt drivers crashed the Ferraris repeatedly. High-speed chases damaged engines. And transmissions? The cars were thrashed. Dykman visited the set and was horrified. His pristine collector cars were being destroyed. He demanded they stop or pay for damages. Production argued normal wear and tear. Dykman disagreed. By season 2, Dykman pulled his cars and sued for damages exceeding $100,000. Production had to purchase their own Ferraris going forward. The lawsuit was settled quietly with terms sealed, but industry insiders confirmed Dykman received significant payment. The Ferrari that defined Magnum, P.I.'s luxury lifestyle, belonged to a man who regretted the deal and watched his investment get systematically destroyed by Hollywood stunt drivers who treated collector cars like disposable props. Fact 18, John Hillerman, who played Higgins, was from Texas, and his British accent was completely fake, which he maintained. On set for 8 years.
I enjoy a good joke, but what I really admire is wit.
One of the great wits of this century was Sir Winston Churchill, who had a running...
I invited Tom. I like to play poker, and I'm a good poker player. And I said, I was trying to get
Higgins wasn't British. John Hillerman was born in Denison, Texas, and spoke with a thick Texas drawl naturally. The perfect British accent was pure acting. Hillerman trained extensively to master the accent for the role. He worked with dialect coaches for months before filming began. The accent was so convincing that cast members and crew who didn't know him before assumed he was actually British. Hillerman made a conscious decision to maintain the accent on set at all times during filming. He believed staying in the accent helped him stay in character. Between takes, Hillerman spoke as Higgins. Tom Selleck said it was bizarre hearing Hillerman suddenly drop into Texas drawl when cameras stopped for lunch breaks. The transformation was jarring. For 8 seasons and 162 episodes, Hillerman performed one of television's most sustained accent performances. British viewers were convinced Higgins was authentically British. The accent was never questioned. Only after the show ended did Hillerman discuss the challenge of maintaining it. He later said the accent work was exhausting, and he was relieved when Magnum ended so he could speak naturally again. Jonathan Quayle Higgins III was a complete fabrication, performed by a Texas boy who became so convincing that even British actors praised his authenticity. Fact 17. Roger E. Mosley, who played TC, was a trained helicopter pilot and performed many of his own flight scenes. Without stunt doubles,
Never saw the photo. He took it. You know, he tried to hire me a month ago because she'd been slipping away on weekends. So what is done?
TC wasn't just acting. Roger E. Mosley was a licensed helicopter pilot who'd been flying for years, before Magnum PI. Mosley grew up in Los Angeles and developed a passion for aviation as a teenager. He earned his helicopter license in his 20s while pursuing acting. When Mosley was cast as TC, producers discovered his real pilot credentials. They were thrilled. It meant authentic flight scenes without expensive stunt pilots for every shot. Mosley performed a significant percentage of TC's flying scenes himself. When the helicopter was in flight with actors visible, that was actually Mosley. Piloting. FAA regulations required a certified instructor pilot on board as safety observer, but Mosley controlled the aircraft. The realism showed on screen. TC's flying looked confident and natural because it was. Mosley later said flying for the show was his favorite part of production. He loved combining his two passions. The helicopter used for the show, a Hughes 369, became Mosley's personal aircraft after production. He continued flying it privately for years. Unlike David Hasselhoff, who couldn't drive KITT, Roger E. Mosley actually was TC. The pilot and the character were genuinely the same. The authenticity made Island Hoppers feel real in ways scripted shows rarely achieve. Fact 16. The show was nearly canceled after season 1 due to low ratings, until Higgins and Magnum's dynamic was emphasized and ratings exploded.
Mr. Magnum.
Where's Mr. Dollinger?
He's sleeping right now.
I have to talk to him.
You can't do that.
What do you think you're doing by pushing your way into the...
Magnum PI almost ended after 1 season. Initial ratings were mediocre. CBS executives were disappointed. The show wasn't connecting with audiences as expected. Test audiences found Tom Selleck charming, but the case is boring. Something needed to change. Producers analyzed what worked. Audiences loved the banter between Magnum and Higgins. The adversarial relationship between the casual private investigator and the uptight estate manager generated the most viewer response. Producers made a critical decision for season 2. Emphasize the Magnum-Higgins dynamic. Make their relationship the heart of the show. Cases became secondary to character interactions. Higgins' dogs, Zeus and Apollo, became recurring comedy elements. The friction between Magnum's laid-back approach and Higgins' rigid propriety drove episodes. The shift worked spectacularly. Season 2 ratings jumped 40%. CBS renewed enthusiastically. The show found its identity. It wasn't really a detective show. It was a character comedy about opposites forced to coexist in paradise. Tom Selleck and John Hillerman's chemistry became television gold. The show that nearly died became a hit because producers recognized detective plots were less interesting than watching Magnum steal Higgins' Ferrari, and Higgins threatening to release the lads on him. Character over plot save Magnum, PI from cancellation. Fact 15. The Hawaiian shirts Magnum wore were Tom Selleck's personal collection, and he refused to let wardrobe department choose his costumes.
Police.
Higgins, first we make sure the girls are safe, then we get the painting without involving the police.
Magnum's iconic look wasn't costume designer creativity. Tom Selleck brought his own shirts from home and refused to wear anything else. When production began, wardrobe department presented Hawaiian shirt options. Selleck rejected all of them. Too touristy, too loud, not authentic. Selleck had collected Hawaiian shirts for years. He had strong opinions about what worked. He told producers he'd wear his own shirts or nothing. They agreed reluctantly. Every shirt Magnum wore belonged to Tom Selleck personally. Selleck was particular about patterns, colors, and fit. He'd select each episode's shirt himself. Wardrobe department was reduced to maintaining and cleaning his personal clothing. Selleck's control extended to other costume elements. The Detroit Tigers baseball cap Magnum wore was Selleck's actual cap from childhood. The watch, the shorts, everything was Selleck's personal property. This created legal complications. When merchandise used Magnum's image on shirts, Selleck argued they were reproducing his personal property. Lawyers had to negotiate image rights versus costume ownership. The Hawaiian shirts became so associated with Magnum that Tom Selleck couldn't wear them privately anymore without being recognized. His personal style became his character's uniform. Decades later, those original shirts from the show are stored in Selleck's home. He occasionally wears them, but the moment he does, he becomes Magnum again, whether he wants to or not. Fact 14. Larry Manetti, who played. Rick was connected to real organized crime figures, and the FBI investigated him during production.
See, what about the Peppers?
Rick!
I don't know. They don't have a last name.
Who doesn't have Kértek valamire? Hidd meg a sort az irodámba, siess. Jön Higgins és 6 óra már elmúlt. Ha itt talált téged zakó nélkül, engem eleve nem megnyugsz.
Larry Manetti brought uncomfortable real-world connections to Magnum, PI. Manetti grew up in Chicago with connections to organized crime families. He wasn't a criminal, but knew people. His family had legitimate and illegitimate business connections. When Manetti was cast as Rick, background checks flagged his Chicago connections. CBS was concerned, but Manetti had no criminal record. They hired him with FBI monitoring. During production's early years, FBI agents contacted Manetti periodically. They wanted information about certain Chicago figures Manetti had known. Manetti cooperated minimally, but the situation was awkward. Cast members knew FBI was watching Manetti. It created distance. Tom Selleck and Manetti were friendly on screen, but never became close personally. Manetti later wrote a memoir discussing his background openly. He admitted growing up around organized crime figures, but insisted he'd never been involved in illegal activities. His Chicago connections informed Rick's character. Rick ran a club, knew shady people, walked the line between legitimate and criminal worlds. That authenticity came from Manetti's real experience. The FBI surveillance ended after a few years when they determined Manetti was clean. But the reputation followed him. Larry Manetti made Rick feel real because Rick's world was Manetti's actual world, sanitized for television. Fact 13. Tom Selleck's mustache was contractually protected, and CBS required him to maintain it throughout the series, even during hiatus.
Still, I felt I knew him. Maybe Dan did too.
Well, the director said, you know, maybe you ought to play this guy without a mustache. I said, sure. I was born that way, you know. And
Tom Selleck's mustache wasn't just facial hair. It was a legal obligation. CBS executives believed the mustache was essential to Magnum's identity. When Selleck signed his contract, a clause required him to maintain the mustache throughout the series' run. Even during hiatus when filming stopped, Selleck couldn't shave. If he appeared in other projects, the mustache had to stay. This limited Selleck's film opportunities. Directors, wanting him for roles that required being clean-shaven, couldn't cast him. Selleck was effectively locked into the mustache. He later admitted the restriction frustrated him. The mustache became his entire identity. People stopped seeing Tom Selleck. They only saw the mustache. After Magnum ended in 1988, Selleck immediately shaved it. The relief was enormous, but audiences hated it. Without the mustache, Selleck's box office appeal dropped. Film roles dried up. Selleck grew the mustache back and never fully shaved again. What started as contractual obligation became permanent identity. Tom Selleck tried to escape the mustache. The mustache won. Decades later, it remains. The facial hair that CBS legally required became the defining physical characteristic of Selleck's entire career. He's now known more for his mustache than his acting, exactly what he'd feared and tried to prevent. Fact 12, the show's original premise had Magnum as a hard-boiled detective, and network testing forced producers to make him lighter and more comedic.
Sometimes everything goes exactly as planned.
Magnum, PI was supposed to be dark. Creator Donald P. Bellisario and Glenn Larson envisioned a serious detective drama. Magnum would be traumatized from Vietnam, cynical about humanity, solving violent crimes in paradise. Early scripts were grim. CBS tested the pilot with audiences. Response was terrible. Viewers found Magnum unlikable and depressing. They wanted escapism, not darkness. CBS demanded massive rewrites, make Magnum funnier. Bellisario resisted, but CBS was firm. Either change the tone or the show dies. Selleck worked with writers to find balance. Magnum would be charming and self-deprecating, but occasionally show Vietnam trauma. The compromise worked, but Bellisario always resented it. He believed they had diluted something special. Later seasons tried to reintroduce darkness. Episodes like Limbo, where Magnum nearly dies, were attempts to reclaim the original vision. But the show's identity was set. Comedy won. The dark Magnum, PI that could have been, remains in those unaired pilot versions. CBS's interference created a hit, but killed something potentially more meaningful. Magnum became comfort food television. The hard-boiled detective drama Bellisario envisioned was buried beneath Hawaiian shirts and Ferrari jokes. Commercial success at the cost of artistic vision. Fact 11. John Hillerman and Tom Selleck had a secret feud that started in season 3 and never fully resolved.
Good, then you can explain your plan to the police.
Higgins, I don't want to have to get into this again with you. We are not going to let Linda and the girls get in trouble with the police.
The Magnum-Higgins friendship was fiction. Tom Selleck and John Hillerman developed serious tensions that poisoned their relationship. The feud started in season 3 over billing. Hillerman demanded equal billing with Selleck. He argued Higgins was as important as Magnum. CBS refused. Tom Selleck was the star. Hillerman would remain supporting cast. Hillerman was furious and blamed Selleck for not supporting his request. Selleck claimed he had no control over billing. The resentment grew. Hillerman started arriving to set late. He'd deliver lines flatly out of spite. Selleck retaliated by minimizing their scenes together. Producers noticed the chemistry had changed. The playful antagonism felt forced. Scripts were adjusted to keep them apart. By season 6, Selleck and Hillerman barely spoke off camera. They'd film their scenes professionally, then retreat to separate areas. Cast members chose sides. The set divided. When the show ended, Selleck and Hillerman didn't maintain contact. At reunions, they were cordial, but cold. Hillerman died in 2009. Selleck's statement was brief and formal. No warmth, no shared memories. The friendship that defined Magnum, PI, was professional acting masking real dislike. Audiences never knew the two men whose chemistry made the show magical actually couldn't stand each other. Fact 10. CBS forced the show to continue. For an 8th season after a perfect series finale and the extra season, nearly destroyed. The show's legacy Magnum, PI, should have ended after season 7. The season finale, Limbo, was perfect. Magnum dies. He's in purgatory seeing his life flash before him. He gets one more chance. The episode was emotionally devastating and satisfying. Tom Selleck, the cast, and producers believed this was the perfect ending. They'd said goodbye. CBS disagreed. Magnum was still profitable. They demanded an 8th season. Selleck was exhausted and wanted out. CBS offered him massive money, and he reluctantly agreed. Season 8 was a disaster creatively. How do you continue after Magnum died and came back? The plots felt forced. The cast was going through motions. Everyone wanted it over. Critics panned Season 8 as unnecessary epilogue, diminishing a perfect ending. The actual final episode, Resolutions, was anticlimactic. Magnum decides to stay in Hawaii. That's it. After the profound limbo, the real ending felt empty. Tom Selleck later said, agreeing to Season 8 was his biggest career mistake. He'd let CBS's money compromise artistic integrity. The show that had ended perfectly was stretched one season too long. Magnum, P.I.'s legacy was tarnished by greed. CBS made money, but at the cost of the show's dignity. Season 8 remains the season fans pretend doesn't exist. Limbo is the real ending in fans' minds. Fact 9. The famous opening narration was added last minute, and Tom Selleck hated recording it because he thought voiceover was lazy. Writing
Some of the things that were going on at the club might have been coincidence or just plain accidents, but Henry's and Rick's ailments were neither. Of that I was almost sure.
Apollo! At your post, lads!
Know what you're thinking. That signature opening voiceover almost didn't exist. Early episodes had no narration. Magnum's internal monologue was added during post-production on the pilot. Producers felt audiences needed more access to Magnum's thoughts. Tom Selleck fought against it. He argued good acting should convey internal thoughts without explicit narration. Voiceover was lazy writing that insulted audiences' intelligence. Producers overruled him. They added narration throughout the pilot. Test audiences loved it. The narration tested higher than any other element. Selleck had to admit he was wrong. The voiceover became Magnum's signature. Selleck recorded narration for most episodes throughout the series. He eventually accepted it, but never loved it. He'd grumble during recording sessions that they were doing the work his acting should accomplish. The narration gave Magnum depth and personality that dialogue alone couldn't achieve. It made him relatable. Audiences felt like Magnum was talking directly to them. The intimacy created connection. Without the voiceover, Magnum would have been just another detective. With it, he became a friend. Tom Selleck's instinct was wrong. The element he fought hardest against became the show's greatest strength. Sometimes actors don't know what's best for their own characters. Fact 8. The show was filmed entirely in Hawaii, and the cast lived there full-time, which created island fever and serious mental health issues. Paradise became prison. Magnum, P.I. filmed exclusively in Hawaii for 8 years. The cast and crew relocated there full-time. Initially it seemed ideal. Beautiful location, perfect weather. But island fever set in quickly. Hawaii is isolated, thousands of miles from the mainland. The cast couldn't easily return home between seasons. They were trapped on an island. Tom Selleck bought a house in Hawaii, but felt increasingly isolated. John Hillerman developed depression from the isolation. Roger E. Mosley struggled with being away from Los Angeles friends and family. By season 4, mental health issues were widespread. Cast members were drinking heavily. Relationships were strained. The beautiful location had become a gilded cage. Producers noticed the toll but couldn't change filming location. Hawaii was Magnum's identity. Larry Manetti later wrote about the psychological difficulty of island isolation. You couldn't just drive home, you were stuck. The paradise everyone saw on screen felt like exile to the people living it. When the show finally ended, most of the cast left Hawaii immediately. Tom Selleck kept his house, but rarely visits. The tropical paradise that looked perfect on television was an 8-year sentence for the cast. By the end, they couldn't wait to escape the island that millions of viewers dreamed about visiting. Fact 7. A stunt driver died during filming. Of a season, 5 episodes in production continued the next day. With no acknowledgement, Magnum, PI has death in its history that was covered up. During Season 5 filming in 1984, a stunt driver was killed during a car chase scene. The driver's name was kept out of media reports. The accident involved a stunt car that was supposed to crash in a controlled manner. Something went wrong, the car went off course and rolled multiple times. The driver wasn't properly secured. He suffered fatal injuries. Emergency services responded, but he died before reaching the hospital. CBS and production company immediately issued gag orders. Cast and crew were forbidden from discussing the accident publicly. The family received a settlement with confidentiality agreements. No charges were filed. OSHA investigated but found no criminal negligence. The next day, production resumed filming. No memorial, no acknowledgement. Cast members were shaken but contractually obligated to continue. Tom Selleck later admitted the death haunted him. The industry's callousness shocked everyone. A man died, and production just continued like nothing happened. The episode The Stunt Driver Died filming aired with no dedication or acknowledgement. His name appeared in end credits for one episode, then was forgotten. Magnum, PI's success, was built partially on a dead man's sacrifice that nobody outside the production ever knew about. Hollywood's dark secret: the show must go on, even over bodies. Fact 6. Tom Selleck developed serious back problems from years of physical stunts and became addicted to pain medication. During later seasons,
Chicken liver.
Tom Selleck's physical deterioration during Magnum was hidden from audiences. The role required significant physical activity: running, fighting, chases. Selleck insisted on doing many of his own stunts. By Season 4, Selleck's back was failing. Years of stunt work without proper recovery caused cumulative damage. He developed chronic back pain, requiring constant treatment. Doctors prescribed pain medication. Selleck started taking pills to get through filming days. The dosage increased steadily. By Season 6, Selleck was dependent on pain medication to function. He'd take pills before each shoot. Cast members noticed but said nothing. Selleck was ashamed and hid the extent of his addiction. His performance suffered subtly. Watch later seasons carefully, and you'll see Selleck moving more carefully, avoiding certain physical actions. After Magnum ended, Selleck entered treatment for prescription medication addiction. He got clean, but his back never fully recovered. Decades later, Selleck still deals with chronic pain from Magnum injuries. He's had multiple surgeries. The physical price of 8 years playing action hero was permanent damage and addiction. Tom Selleck sacrificed his body for Magnum, PI. The charming, effortless hero audiences saw was a man in constant pain, medicating himself to maintain the illusion. The cost of fame was agony and pills. Fact 5. The show's famous Ferrari, jump in the opening, credits destroyed. A real Ferrari, and the stunt was never meant to be used. The opening credits' iconic moment cost a fortune and was complete accident. The sequence showing the Ferrari jumping through the air was from a failed stunt during early production. A stunt coordinator was testing a car jump for an episode. The Ferrari was supposed to jump a small gap. The ramp angle was wrong. The car launched much higher than intended. It flew through the air, landed hard, and was completely destroyed. The suspension, frame, and engine were totaled. The stunt coordinator thought he'd be fired. Then editors saw the footage. The accidental jump looked spectacular. They decided to use it in the opening credits. That failed stunt became Magnum, PI's most iconic image. Every episode for 8 years opened with footage of an accident that destroyed an expensive car. The Ferrari in the jump was never repaired. It was scrapped. Insurance covered the loss, but production had to explain how they destroyed a Ferrari during a routine test. The accidental jump cost over $50,000 in damages and created headaches with Ferrari ownership and insurance. but it became the show's signature visual. Millions of viewers associated Magnum with that airborne Ferrari. None of them knew they were watching an expensive mistake that should never have happened. The most iconic moment in Magnum, PI history, was a complete accident nobody intended to film.
Masters the stage.
Unhand me!
Pickled egg, please.
Fact 4. John Hillerman was openly racist toward Roger E. Mosley, and production had to film them separately for multiple seasons. The darkest secret behind Magnum, PI, was John Hillerman's racism. Hillerman harbored racial prejudices that he expressed openly on set. Roger E. Mosley, who played TC, was the primary target. Hillerman would make racist comments disguised as jokes. He'd use slurs when he thought nobody important was listening. Mosley confronted Hillerman during season 2 after repeated incidents. Hillerman denied being racist, but refused to apologize. The confrontation became physical. Other cast members had to separate them. Tom Selleck tried to mediate, but Hillerman wouldn't back down. Production was in crisis. CBS was terrified of the story leaking. They instituted policies keeping Mosley and Hillerman apart. Scenes requiring both characters were rewritten or shot separately with editing magic. For seasons 3 through 8, Higgins and TC almost never appear in the same shot. Watch carefully, and you'll notice they're always filmed separately, then cut together. Cast members knew, but contracts and NDAs kept everyone silent. Roger E. Mosley later discussed the racism he experienced without naming Hillerman specifically. He said, working on Magnum involved daily indignities he endured for his career. When Hillerman died in 2009, Mosley's statement was pointedly silent on their relationship. The racism that poisoned production was never publicly acknowledged. Magnum, PI's happy family image, masked ugly racial hatred that production spent years hiding and managing.
Hey, just call this plane. We got 10 minutes. We're gonna get the painting back. We gotta do it right now. It's gate 18.
Yeah, no, this is not me. This is not me. It's not.
Fact 3. CBS planned a spin-off called The A-Team featuring Rick and TC that was blocked by Universal and later retooled into the actual A-Team. Here's a wild connection. The A-Team you know was almost a Magnum PI spin-off. In 1982, CBS planned a spin-off series starring Rick and TC. The concept: 2 Vietnam veterans running a team of mercenaries for hire helping people. Larry Manetti and Roger E. Mosley were enthusiastic. Scripts were developed, pilots were written. Then legal discovered a problem. Universal Television produced Magnum. PI NBC wanted the spin-off. Universal couldn't sell a CBS property to NBC. The deal collapsed, but Universal owned the concept. Stephen J. Cannell took the mercenaries for hire idea, removed the Magnum connection, and created the A-Team for NBC in 1983. The show was a massive hit. Larry Manetti and Roger E. Mosley watched actors play roles that were originally written for them. They'd lost a potential franchise due to legal complications. Tom Selleck later confirmed the connection in interviews. The A-Team was originally a Magnum spin-off. Corporate legal maneuvering turned it into a separate series. Larry Manetti remained bitter about missing the A-Team for decades. He'd been this close to his own show. Legal fine print cost him a career-defining role. The A-Team's Mr. T and Dirk Benedict became stars playing variations of Rick and TC. The Magnum cast that could have spun off into their own franchise watched from the sidelines. Fact 2. Tom Selleck was offered the lead in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade to replace Harrison Ford, and CBS still blocked him.
Steven Spielberg even put my screen test on the anniversary of Raiders of the Lost.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
The Indiana Jones curse struck twice. In 1988, Harrison Ford was feuding with Steven Spielberg over Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade. Ford briefly threatened to quit. Spielberg immediately called Tom Selleck. This was Selleck's second chance at Indiana Jones. Magnum, P.I. was ending. Selleck was finally free. Spielberg wanted him to replace Ford. CBS intervened again. They still owned Selleck's contract through potential TV movies. They told Spielberg CBS wanted option on Magnum reunion movies. They wouldn't release Selleck for a film that would overshadow their property. Tom Selleck was devastated. Twice CBS had blocked him from Indiana Jones. Harrison Ford resolved his issues with Spielberg and returned to Last Crusade. Selleck never got his shot at the franchise. He later said, losing Indiana Jones twice destroyed something in him. The role that should have been his went to another actor permanently. CBS's stranglehold on Selleck's career cost him the film franchise that would have made him a movie legend. Instead, he remained a television actor. Well-paid, successful, but never the film star he could have been. Tom Selleck's career is defined by the role he never played. CBS protected Magnum, P.I. at the cost of Selleck's film potential. When Selleck finally did Magnum reunion movies in the 90s, they were commercial failures. CBS had held on to him for nothing. Fact 1. Tom Selleck refused to participate in the reboot, and CBS made it without him out of spite, which guaranteed its failure.
Oh, hang on. You know that didn't happen. What are you talking about? Thomas, this book says you jumped from space. Space.
Thomas Magnum is kind of exciting. He lives in Hawaii. He's an ex-Navy SEAL, which is pretty impressive. He drives a red Ferrari.
The Magnum P.I. reboot failed because of old grudges. In 2016, CBS announced plans to reboot Magnum. They approached Tom Selleck about participating as executive producer or in a mentor role. Selleck refused completely. He told CBS he had no interest in revisiting the show that had trapped him for 8 years. CBS was furious. They'd assumed Selleck would embrace the reboot. His rejection insulted them. CBS made a decision. They'd reboot Magnum without Selleck's involvement out of spite. They cast Jay Hernandez as a completely different Magnum. The reboot premiered in 2018 to mediocre ratings and terrible fan response. Original Magnum fans rejected it. New audiences didn't care. Without Selleck's blessing or involvement, the reboot felt hollow. Critics noted Selleck's absence was glaring. CBS had rebooted Hawaii Five-0 successfully. They assumed Magnum would work similarly, but Hawaii Five-0's original cast was dead. Magnum's star was alive and publicly disinterested. The reboot struggled through 5 seasons before cancellation in 2024. Tom Selleck never watched a single episode. The reboot that CBS made out of spite became proof that Magnum, P.I. was Tom Selleck. You couldn't separate them. Trying to recreate Magnum without Selleck was corporate hubris. CBS learned too late that some shows belong to their stars forever. The reboot's failure was Tom Selleck's final revenge against the network that had controlled his career for 8 years. Bonus fact: the original Magnum Ferrari was sold at auction for over $300,000, but later discovered to be a replica, and the real car's location remains unknown.
Will be selling a 1984 Ferrari 308 GTS Quattrovalvole that appeared on the detective show Magnum P.
The Ferrari that appeared in Magnum, P.I. has a mystery surrounding it. In 2009, a Ferrari 308 GTS claimed to be the hero car from Magnum sold at auction for $320,000. The buyer was a wealthy collector who planned to display it. Months later, Ferrari experts examined the car closely. VIN numbers didn't match production records. Interior modifications weren't screen accurate. The car was a replica built to resemble the hero car. The buyer sued the auction house. Investigation revealed multiple original Magnum Ferraris exist. Various owners claim to have the real hero car. Universal's production records from the 80s are incomplete. Nobody can definitively prove which Ferrari was actually the primary car used for close-ups. Tom Selleck was asked about it. He laughed and said he had no idea which car was which. They used so many during production. The real hero Ferrari might be sitting in someone's garage with the owner unaware, or it might have been destroyed decades ago. The mystery remains unsolved. Fans and collectors debate which Ferrari is genuine. Without definitive proof, the answer is lost to history. The car that defined Magnum, P.I. visually might be gone forever. Its location is Magnum's final unsolved case. Somewhere the real Ferrari exists. Or it doesn't. Nobody knows for certain. Perfect mystery for a detective show. Magnum, P.I. wasn't just a detective in paradise. It was lost opportunities, hidden racism, and one career CBS controlled so completely it destroyed a film legend. Before he could exist. If these secrets shocked you, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and tell me which fact devastated you most. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes what you're thinking isn't right after all.